I want you to picture a wedding reception. String lights. A live band packing up their last song. 200 guests with champagne in their hands. Now picture the bride's own sister standing up, tapping her glass for a toast, and instead of wishing her well, she tells the entire room a secret that wasn't hers to tell. That's where this story starts. Not at the beginning. Right there, glass in hand, microphone live. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened next, and how a single sentence, spoken 11 months later, ended up costing her everything she thought she just won. Stick around. This one has a long fuse. Welcome back to Blood and Backbone, where we talk about the moments families don't put in the holiday newsletter. If you're new here, these stories are dramatized for entertainment, but the kind of betrayal you're about to hear, that part's real for a lot of people. If it's real for you too, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. To understand the wedding, you have to understand the sisters. Let's call them Mara and Della. 2 years apart, raised in the same house, by the same parents, and treated like they came from two completely different families. Mara was the older one. Steady. The kind of kid who did her homework without being asked, who got a part-time job at 16 because she wanted her own money, who never caused a single scene at a single family dinner in 28 years. Della was the younger one. Charming. Loud in a way that filled up a room. And from the time she was small, their mother had a phrase she used about her: Della just needs more. More attention. More patience. More forgiveness. And so, for almost 3 decades, that's exactly what Della got. More. When Mara got a scholarship to study accounting, their parents threw her a small dinner. When Della dropped out of her second college in 2 years, their parents threw her a fresh start party and quietly paid off her credit card. Mara noticed. Of course, she noticed. But she also did something a lot of people do when they grow up in a house like that. She stopped expecting fairness and started just trying to be good enough that nobody could find a reason to leave her out. It didn't work. It never does. But she tried anyway for years. By the time Mara was 28, she'd built a quiet, solid life. A steady job at a mid-sized accounting firm. A small apartment she'd furnished herself, piece by piece, over 3 years. And a relationship with a man named Theo, kind, unremarkable in the best way, the kind of partner who remembered how she took her coffee without being told twice. When Theo proposed, Mara cried for an hour. Not because it was a surprise, because for the first time in her life, something good was happening to her, and nobody could take credit for it but her. She should have known better than to think that included Della. Wedding planning has a way of putting a magnifying glass over every fracture in a family. Mara learned that the hard way. The first crack came over the guest list. Della wanted to bring a +1, a man she'd been seeing for exactly 6 weeks. Mara said no, not because she disliked him, but because the venue had a hard cap and she'd already cut 2 of her own co-workers to make room for family. Della didn't speak to her for 11 days. The second crack came over the dress. Mara had picked a soft champagne color for the bridesmaids, nothing dramatic, nothing that would upstage anyone. Della showed up to the fitting in white. Not ivory, not champagne, white. When the consultant gently pointed out the mix-up, Della just shrugged and said, "I just like this one better. It's not that deep." It was, in fact, that deep. But Mara let it go. She always let it go. The third crack, the one that should have been a warning siren instead of a footnote, came 3 weeks before the wedding, when Mara confided something to Della that she hadn't even told their mother yet. She and Theo had hit a rough patch the year before. 6 months, actually, where they'd separated, where Mara had moved into a friend's spare room, where she genuinely thought the relationship might be over. They'd worked through it, gone to counseling, found their way back to each other, stronger than before. It wasn't a secret out of shame. It was a secret because it was theirs. A private chapter in a story that had a happy ending, and Mara wanted to be the one who got to decide when, and if, it was ever shared. She told Della one night, over wine, in the kind of soft, vulnerable moment that's supposed to bring sisters closer. "I just want you to understand why this wedding means so much to me," Mara said. "We almost didn't make it here." Della reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That stays between us," she said. "I promise." 3 weeks later, she stood up at the reception with a microphone in her hand. The toasts had been going well. Theo's best man told a story about how they met in college that made the whole room laugh. Their mother, surprisingly mercifully, kept hers short and warm. Then Della stood up. She started normal enough. A joke about Mara always being the responsible one. A line about how proud she was to watch her big sister find happiness. The room was smiling. Mara was smiling. And then Della said the sentence that ended the evening as anyone there would remember it. "And honestly, after everything they went through last year, splitting up, all of it, I think it just proves that real love finds its way back." So here's to Mara and Theo for proving the doubters wrong. The room went quiet in that particular way. A room goes quiet when 200 people suddenly realize they've learned something they weren't supposed to know. Mara's mother's head turned sharply toward her, eyes wide. She hadn't known either. Theo's parents, who Mara had specifically avoided telling because they were old-fashioned and she didn't want the separation to color how they saw her, exchanged a look. A cousin 2 tables back actually pulled out her phone, presumably to text someone the news in real time. Theo reached for Mara's hand under the table. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His thumb just pressed once against her knuckles. "I'm here." Mara smiled. She thanked her sister for the toast. She raised her glass like everyone else. And inside, something that had been bending for 28 years finally, quietly, snapped. She didn't cause a scene. She didn't confront Della on the dance floor. She finished her wedding night exactly the way she'd planned it. First dance, cake cutting, goodbye sparklers at 11 p.m. But somewhere between the toast and the sparklers, Mara made a decision she wouldn't act on for almost a year. She decided that the next time Della needed something from her, and given the pattern of their entire lives, there would absolutely be a next time, the answer was going to be no. She just didn't know yet how big that next time would turn out to be. 11 months passed. In that time, Mara didn't cut Della off completely. She wasn't interested in becoming the villain of a story she hadn't started. She showed up to her parents' anniversary dinner. She sent a birthday gift. She kept things polite, distant, and most importantly, boundaried. What she didn't do was forget. So when Della called her on a Tuesday night, voice cracking, asking to meet for coffee about something important, Mara already had a feeling about what was coming. It turned out to be worse than a feeling. It was a number. Della had co-signed a lease on a boutique she'd been trying to open for the better part of 2 years, a candle and home goods shop, the kind of business she talked about starting since she was 22 and had finally convinced a small business lender to partially back. The lender required a second signature with strong credit and a steady income history. Their parents didn't qualify, their father had retired, their mother's credit was a mess from years of helping Della. Della had one person left on her list. "I need you to co-sign," she said, sliding a folder across the table. "Just a formality. I'll make every payment. You won't even notice it's there." Mara looked at the folder for a long moment. Then she looked at her sister, the same sister who'd once promised that stays between us, and then made sure 200 people knew anyway. "I can't do that," Mara said. Della's face shifted, first confusion, like the word genuinely hadn't registered, then something harder. "Can't or won't?" "Won't," Mara said. "I've watched you go through this exact pattern my whole life, Della. Someone bails you out, it doesn't work out, someone bails you out again. I'm not going to be the next someone." "This is about the wedding," Della said. It wasn't a question. "This is about a pattern," Mara said. The wedding was just the loudest part of it. Della stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor, loud enough that the 2 tables near them glanced over. "I can't believe you're bringing up one toast." "One." I said one nice thing about your marriage surviving, and you're going to let my entire future fall apart over it. And there it was. The thing Mara had been waiting almost a year to hear out loud. Della genuinely didn't think she'd done anything wrong. Not really. Not enough to matter. It was never about the toast, Mara said quietly. It's about the fact that you still don't understand why it mattered. That's the part one can't co-sign for. She left her coffee unfinished on the table and walked out. Here's the part of the story people usually want to hear: what happened to the boutique. Without a co-signer, Della's loan fell through. She tried 2 more lenders over the following months and got the same answer both times. Eventually, she gave up on the storefront entirely and started selling candles out of her apartment instead, a few dozen at a time, mostly to people who already knew her. It wasn't a dramatic collapse. There was no single moment of public reckoning, no viral downfall. Just a slow, quiet downgrade from the life Della had been describing to everyone at that wedding, to a life that looked a lot more like everyone else's, ordinary, unfinished, still being figured out. Mara, meanwhile, didn't do anything you could call revenge, if you're using the word the way most people mean it. She didn't sabotage her sister. She didn't badmouth her to their parents. She didn't even bring up the boutique again. She just stopped being the safety net. And it turned out the net had been doing more work than anyone in that family had ever admitted out loud. 8 months later, at a smaller, quieter family dinner, their mother finally said something she'd never said before. "I think we let you carry too much for too long," she told Mara, while Della sat 2 seats down, unusually silent. "Both of us did." It wasn't a full apology. Families like this rarely manage a full one. But it was something. A crack in a 30-year pattern that had never cracked before. And Della, to her credit, and this part matters, eventually said something too. Not at a big dramatic moment. Just quietly, on a phone call, months after the boutique fell apart. "I've been thinking about that toast a lot," she said. "I don't think I understood back then that I was doing something to you. I thought I was just talking." "I know," Mara said. "That was always the problem." It wasn't a perfect ending. Mara and Della are still rebuilding something that might never look like closeness again. But for the first time in either of their lives, it's honest. And for Mara, that turned out to be worth more than being liked. Here's what I keep coming back to with this one. Mara never raised her voice. She never posted about it online, never staged a confrontation, never tried to make her sister feel as small as she'd been made to feel. She just stopped showing up for a pattern that was never going to change on its own. Sometimes that's what justice actually looks like in a family. Not a courtroom. Not a viral moment. Just someone finally saying no after 28 years of automatically saying yes, and letting the people around them feel the actual weight of their own choices for the first time. If this story hit close to home for you, I'd genuinely like to know. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done differently, or the same. And if you want more stories like this one, I've got a new one coming this week. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next story.